Paul, you're very welcome to the ScaleX Insider podcast. I'm delighted and thrilled to have the opportunity to speak with you again today.
Okay, well, Brandon, I'm happy to be here. We've had a great time, great conversation off camera as well. So I'm here to help in any way I can.
I'm not sure how much of that we can share, but anyway. Paul, to say that you are fanatical about lean is a little bit of an understatement. But for those who are not familiar with the concept of lean, for the layman, what is lean?
I thought about that and I've answered this question many, many times, but I'm going to answer it a little differently today. Lean is the ability for someone to peer deeply into their weaknesses and address them aggressively. So I will explain. When I learned lean 20 years ago, which is the Toyota production system, essentially, I was a very successful business person making, I don't say this to be braggadocious, but I was making millions of dollars. I was doing well. I mean, everybody wanted to invest in my company and I was doing great. And my company was dialed in. When you looked at my company, it was a model. It was clean. It was neat. It was organized. We were young, hip culture. I talk about this in my book. Everybody looked at me and said, "Shit, I want what you have." Excuse me. You can re-edit that. Everyone looked at me and said, "I want what you have." And I said, "Yeah, I'm a pretty lucky guy." And then these consultants from Japan came into my company and told me I didn't know what I was doing. They showed me my weakness. They showed me my problems. They showed me the lack of insight I had to how the world really worked. And I was just like, what? I don't know this? And that is lean, the ability to look and peer inside of your weaknesses and address them aggressively. And that's what happened to me. They showed me my weaknesses everything changed.
It's a great definition. I've never heard it described like that.
I've never described it like that.
What was the journey before those consultants arrived into the company? Because what you're describing to me suggests a level of humility to invite people in to actually appraise what you're currently doing, especially if you believe that what you're doing is already optimized. So what led up to the point that those Toyota consultants were in? And then what was the defining moment for you to say, I need to do something more than what we're currently doing?
Wow, it's a great question. Here's the answer. I was never successful in life the way most people would define success. I was not an A student. School was difficult for me. I was not a star in sports. I played sports. I went to school. I got C's and D's. I was not the best looking guy. I was just, everything about me was average. And, when you're average, there tends to be a degree of angst about maybe why aren't you better looking? Why aren't you smarter? Why aren't you this? Why aren't you that? And so you kind of spend a little bit of time trying to figure out how to fix those things, right? I mean, that's the honest answer. And in the process of having that disposition in life, not quite measuring up, I was always trying to fix things. I was always trying to improve myself. So what my life looked like prior to lean was I was always kind of trying to tweak it. I was reading the next book. I was looking at people going, how come he can do that and I can't do it? And then I was adjusting. And the truth of the matter is that attitude was very beneficial to me because I became quite successful. Because prior to lean, I was very successful.
Yeah.
Right? I could have retired when I was 30 years old. I had acquired enough real estate. I got my degree. Everything was difficult for me, but I followed this deliberate practice of trying to improve my life and etch away the rough spots. And it worked. But when I learned about lean, it was like God, it was like, I'm trying to figure it all out. And then there's this system. And then when they unlock the key and I open the door, I go, there's a system for doing this. It's all been laid out and it all makes perfect sense. And you can accelerate that mentality that I had exponentially. It was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been looking for the past 35 years.
This is really interesting. So you had an obsession with self-improvement, but
Sure.
no one was directing or guiding you as to how you approach it.
I had to figure it all out on my own.
Right. And all of a sudden, these guys from Toyota come into your company, which is already very, very successful, and they show you another way. So can you just, give us a little bit of insight into why were they there and what where is that then? Where is that journey led to in terms of actually this lean just permeating every aspect of your life? So just go back to that moment.
Yeah, no problem. I'll go right back to that point. What happened was, so I was importing some raw materials from over in Europe and from different locations around the world. I didn't have a degree, didn't have an MBA degree. I had a degree in education. I was a teacher. And so I was a small cabinet maker. So everyone's got to imagine there's this small guy working in his shop. And I had my shop at my home. I had 2 or 3 employees. I was just a little tiny nothing. I was a little local cabinet maker. I did nice work. I made $40,000 a year back then. I made a little bit of money. I made enough money to put food on the table and, go on one vacation. I was lucky a year. I was a little cabinet maker. And then I'm thrust in, then I developed this one product and this product kind of blows up and gets really big. And next thing you know, I'm having to make phone calls to Portugal and to Spain, and I'm importing materials and I go down to the local hardware store when I need something. So I'm struggling. I don't know how to do all this stuff and I'm figuring it out the best I can. But finally the company starts scaling to the size where I need software, I need a consultant, I need someone to help me how to manage an operation that's bringing in products from around the world to manufacture my stuff. So I went to the local university and I asked, is there someone in the business department that can help me? And they said, you should get a consultant who can maybe come in and get you some software that can help manage all this complexity. So I brought this guy in and he looked around, and this is the story I tell in my book. And I said, Tracy, can you help me? And he looked around, and the bank president had been in my company the week before and given me a $250,000 line of credit. Wow. And he came in personally to approve the loan because they don't give $250,000 lines of credit to people who don't have MBA and small startups because they fail, they waste the money, they don't spend the money correctly, they get it over their head, and next thing you know, the bank's holding the debt. But the bank president wanted to come in and personally say, okay.
And what size were you at this stage, Paul, just to give a little bit of context?
3 years, we were probably doing, I would guess we were doing, just guessing, $1 million a year in business.
With what, 10 people?
Yeah, with the bank, maybe 18. Maybe about 18, somewhere right in that neck of the woods, I would guess. We were probably doing more than $1 million, but right in that neck of the woods. And he came in and looked around. He was an older guy, too. And he came in and looked around, and I never forget, he leaned against one of my main machines, and he said, Paul, I've never been in a company like this in my life. This is the most unbelievable company I've ever been in. I'd give you any amount of money you wanted. And I'm like, look at him and go, damn, I'm good. Right? So that was the situation. He was going, this place is so dialed in, it's unbelievable. A week later, this guy, Tracy, the consultant, walks in, looks around, and I said, Tracy, can you help me figure out how to do this inventory thing? And he looked at me and he said, you're clueless. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You don't know how to manufacture. Right? And he was just kind of like tongue-in-cheek in it. But I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, no, you need to learn the Toyota production system. You need to learn lean manufacturing. You need to learn Kaizen. I'd never heard of those things before in my life.
Right.
And I go, what the hell is that? And so he said, well, I know these 2 kids from Japan. They can come in. They can help you. They were $10,000 a week. I wasn't going to spend $10,000 a week. That was crazy, but I knew I needed to spend $10,000 a week because if I was that clueless and this guy thought there was something I was missing, I talked to my wife. She wasn't crazy about spending $10,000. I convinced her I'm a bull in a china shop. I said, we're going to do this. I got to figure out how to do this. we brought these kids in and they looked around, they're speaking in Japanese. They're doing all their thing, trying to figure out how they're going to help me. I think I was their very first client too. They'd never done it before. And they'd done it in Japan and been they were actually translators. And they were starting their own consulting based on being translators for the Toyota people.
Oh, wow.
Very
and
crazy,
you were their first client?
I was their first client. And so they said, okay, we'll do it for this amount of money. And they came in and they started changing everything I was doing. They didn't make little changes. They tore off entire stuff and they changed it. And in 1 week, they took processes that were taking us 45 minutes, processes that I had set up because I was good with my hand, from 45 minutes to 5 minutes.
Like what? Explain. Give us an example.
Okay, so here's the example. So in the beginning, we were making cover caps. We were punching out these little peel and stick cover caps out of wood and different materials to put over kitchen cabinets. We had to set up this machine, a die cutting machine, to do that. And every time a customer would order walnut or white or black we had to change the machine. It was a setup. So that setup would take 45 minutes. We have to put a die in. We have to adjust everything. The tension had to be right. The adhesive had to line up. Everything had to be perfect. And so we'd run the machine and it would spit out a bunch of bad parts and we'd throw them in the trash. We'd make a little adjustment. We'd run the machine again and we'd do it. We'd walk over and get this tool and get that tool. And they looked at the whole thing. It takes you 45 minutes to set this up. It should take like 5 minutes. And I'm going, you can't set this machine up in 5 minutes. And they said, oh, yeah, you can. You don't understand waste. And they showed how much waste we were going through. And then they started chiseling away at that. And so now this die change took 5 minutes instead of 45 minutes. So from the time the machine stopped to the time this machine was running again with good parts, it was 5 minutes instead of 45 minutes. And instead of a trash can full of waste, there was 5 sheets.
That's incredible.
And not like it gets better than that. So after they showed us this, one of my employees, Victor, a really smart Russian guy, he's going, man, this waste thing is like, I see the waste everywhere. Nobody could see the waste, right? Everyone thought that was part of doing business. He's seeing the waste. He said, let's redesign the die and change it so there's not as much waste in the die. In 3 months, it added $30,000 of net profit to the bottom line.
That's incredible.
A month.
And there's a lot in that which I want to tease out, especially the victor and the subsequent victors whom you attract into your company. But you've mentioned waste there, and you describe in a really refreshing way the 8 deadly sins of waste in one of your books. Can you just give us an overview of a master class in waste, Paul?
Sure. I'll give it to you the way I did it. The last podcast I recorded, I did it, and I got a lot of comments back from everyone saying, hey, I really like the way you said that because it was easy for me to understand. So here you go. The 8 wastes are as follows. You have a dinner party at your house. You invite another couple over. You and your wife are going to have a nice dinner. You make a salad. You make a salad for 4 people, but you really don't analyze how much salad you need, and you end up making a salad for 6 people, right? So the first waste is overproduction. You needed a salad for 4 people, but you made a salad for 6, so you overproduce. Now, remember, everyone who's listening to this story right now, do not memorize the 8 wastes. Do not use an acronym. Do not use some system. Do not do anything. Just remember this salad story. It's a story, because when you understand that all waste really generates from overproducing, the minute you overproduce something, then all the other wastes just go whoom. They turn into a tornado, a vortex. So we overproduce the salad, right? So we get done with dinner. I get up out of the table and I have to transport the wasted salad back to the kitchen. So I pick up the extra salad. I take it back to the kitchen. That's transportation. So now I've transported something that I didn't need to transport. Okay. Then I got to do something with that salad. I'm going to put it in inventory. What do I need? I open up my refrigerator. I put it into the refrigerator. But I've been overproducing my entire life. So I don't have a small little refrigerator like the ones in Japan. I got a effing Sub-Zero. I got a 48-inch wide, side-by-side, stuffed full of overproduction from freezer to refrigerator.
I'm proud everywhere. Of it. Proud of the size of it.
And proud of it. And I think I'm smart.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a freaking genius because I got a Sub-Zero refrigerator. And then the truth of the matter is you're a moron. That's the part that's why lean is so exciting to me, because it reveals your stupidity at a level beyond anything you could ever comprehend. And you have to laugh at yourself at how stupid you are. Right? So now I got this giant Sub-Zero. I've got inventory. So I overproduced the salad. I transported it back. I stuck it in my giant Sub-Zero. Right? I go off to work. I come back 3 days later. I open the refrigerator. Hey, I want something to eat. Oh, there's that Tupperware, that salad. I pull that thing up. I open it up and I go, doesn't smell so good. Doesn't look so good. I got a freaking defect. You're starting to see this, how it all comes. It's in everything you do, from every email you send, to all the information you gather and give to people, to everything you do, how you learn to kite surf, everything. You'll see this waste everywhere. So now you got a defect. What are you going to do with that defect? You got to over process it. You got to take it out. You got to put more salad dressing in to make it taste good. Oh, worse yet, you're going to open up the trash can. Then you're going to scrape it out. Over processing, excess motion. You're going to take a fork. You're going to scrape it into the trash. And then what do you got to do? The trash fills up faster. Now you got to empty the bag, walk out to the trash can. You got to take it out 3 times a week instead of once a week. It's just like the waste has gone crazy. And then your wife's going, hey, honey, why aren't you making dinner? I'm out taking the trash out. I'm washing my hands from touching the trash 5 times a week instead of once a week. Right? It's just like everywhere. It's extent. And now the trash guy's got to take the trash out, because around the world, 40% of food is wasted. Yeah. It's thrown in the trash. Could you imagine 7 billion people and 40% of the food is thrown out? So now we've got more trash trucks on the road. We got more CO2, and I'm not an environmentalist in the way that most people think. But let me tell you, if you want to talk about lean, is the greatest lean green concept in the world. Green is bullshit. It's all greenwashing your brain. Hey, I'm going to pay carbon credit. You can forget about all that nonsense. You talk about becoming a lean thinker, then you're going to save the planet. Because you're not going to be wasting all the resources and overproducing them and throwing them out. So now we got our dumps are 10 times bigger because we're throwing all this crap away. Then we have to have bigger machines to bulldoze it under. This is all because I made too much salad. We got more environmental people checking the probes for methane gas for the next 40 years. We got management. We got checked. This is all because I made too much salad. Yeah. Do you understand? Me and 7 billion other people.
And I want to come back to this, because actually it's Scale Up Week in the UK, and every day the Scale Up Institute and the UK government have been talking about the promotion of scaling with purpose, which is the essence of simple scaling. And what we're saying here is actually, if you devote yourself to lean, by virtue of doing that, you become a purposeful company, because at the whole heart of lean is the elimination of waste. So I want to come into that in a little bit. So we have overproduction. We have then the transport as a result of that. We have the stocking because of the overproduction. Then we have defects because of the failure to stock correctly. We have then the processing and the dumping of the defect.
Right. And then excess motion. So you've overprocessed. You got to put more, and then motion. Keep going.
Yes. So what's
and then
what's
the customer? Then now your customer's waiting. My wife's waiting for me to make dinner because I'm out. Where are you, man? I'm out dumping trash. So the customer's waiting. And the worst waste of all is I've wasted my potential as a human being. I'm spending my whole life as a hamster running around dealing with all the waste that I generate instead of using my brain and solving problems. I'm taking the trash out.
This is fantastic.
So now you know why I'm so excited about it, because I don't have to be a super environmentalist. I don't have to be an MBA from Harvard. I don't have to do any of this other stuff. I just need to be able to see waste. When you see waste, everything in your life gets better. It's so simple. How could I not be? When I see, before I used to be overweight, right? So what was I doing? I was overproducing food, eating it, putting it on my stomach, carrying it around, killing myself, and all of a sudden I go, oh, I see the waste.
And I mean, we'll come to that, because that initial kind of moment where the light bulb has gone off by
Mm-hmm.
virtue of what the consultants have just shown you,
Mm-hmm.
has now permeated every aspect of your life. And I mean, my goodness, climbing Kilimanjaro, Everest Base Camp, you've done a couple of Ironman. I mean, it's just set this train in motion, which is clearly
unstoppable.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
unstoppable.
Let's come back to then the first 12 months post that light bulb going off in Fast Cap, because you talked about kind of what we're referring to here as a level of consciousness around waste, and it's not that people are intending every day waking up and
we're just ignorant.
Yeah, exactly. So the word is ignorant. So how do we move from that state of ignorance to a state of awareness? Take us over that bridge. And if you take us back to Fast.
Well, the first step is you got to check your ego as a leader. If you think that you're trying to protect if you're trying to say, well, I was already doing this, and no, you are clueless. So the first step is you got to get your ego out of the way. I've spoken in front of so many people. I've stood up in front of thousands of people, and people have said, yeah, I'm kind of already doing that. And I look at them, I go, you are the exact person who will fail at least. The minute you start saying, nobody was doing it more than me, and I was an abject failure at this. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Until you can get to that point in your life and you realize how far off. If it was taking me 45 minutes to do something and the Japanese showed me how to do it in 5 minutes, I was an abject failure. They didn't take it from 45 minutes to 43 minutes. They took it to 45 minutes to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I was freaking clueless, and you are freaking clueless. And unless you can approach it that way, you'll never get this. And I've seen this over and over again. All the people in the world that are doing 2-second lean, and it is global, it's everywhere. Every one of those leaders are just like, how can I be so stupid?
So we have to put our hands up as leaders and admit that we are clueless when it comes to the elimination, eradication of waste, and then approach it with a level of humility and an absolute desire to learn. And you mentioned companies right across the world and companies close to me, the likes of Seeding Matters. I know are protege of the 2-second lean.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So just that. So there's that admission, Paul, initially, and that desire to want to improve, and approaching it with a level of humility. What's next?
Then you need something that I like to call, that I learned. I always say everything I learned from someone else. Paul didn't invent any of this stuff. I learned this idea of deliberate practice. I had to be deliberate about creating a system that supported my new belief. My new belief was that we can improve everything. My new belief was that people are my greatest resource. My new belief is that we needed to focus on developing our people and not our bank account, and not how much money we were making. So how do I create a system that supports that? It was very simple. The first thing we do every day in our company from the moment this revelation came to me was we started 3S'ing our entire company for 10 or 15 minutes every morning, and we never missed, and we never have. Sweeping, just clean up everything, sorting, getting rid of all the things out of our work area that we don't need. Look at your desktop computer right now. Look at all the files that you have arranged on there. Do you really need all that stuff on your desktop? No, you need to sort that stuff out, put them in nice little files so everything's neatly organized, create systems. So sweeping, sorting, and standardizing systems on your desktop, in your work area, in your kitchen, in your refrigerator, so that when you work, you can work in flow. We know as athletes, that when you're in flow, when you're running, when you're in flow, when you're swimming, when you're in flow, it's this magic, right? But when you're starting it's terrible. So you want to work in flow. So 3S'ing every morning, so we could work in flow. We could have our tool right where we need it. When we needed the information, we could click one click, and there it is. Not searching through files, scrolling, because you took time to sort things out in the morning. So 3S'ing every morning, and then a morning meeting. We gather as a team, all 50 of us every morning. We never miss. And our meetings are half hour, 45 minutes long. Do not do that. 10 minutes is more than long enough. We have a very mature culture. It's like a university for us. And we talk about our problems. We show our solutions. We look at other lean companies around the world. We have a very robust university style morning meeting where we develop our people. So basically, for the first 2 hours, hour and a half at my company every day, we do not work. We do not work. We just develop our people and the way we think, so that when we do work, we work at a whole different level. And I mean, the results of the company are just, nobody would ever believe me. I tell it to people and they can't even believe, what we're doing, but and I just laugh at the whole thing because I think to myself, this is so academic. I mean, a hamster could figure this stuff out.
And I invite people to go and look on YouTube. There's so many videos. I mean, you're so generous with sharing what has worked for you, where it's lots of people. I mean, you clearly have an abundance mindset, and even that, we connected more than a year ago. I reached out to you, you're straight back, and you've been so generous with your time ever since. And, you approach everything with that abundance mindset, and you share so much information around lean. So, I invite people to follow on from this podcast, to go and search your company, you on on the website, some fantastic.
Everything's free.
Yes.
My book's in 15, 16 languages now. I don't know how many languages. There's always getting translated. New ones always coming out, but everything's free. There's no charge for anything. The videos, nothing.
You've mentioned people, and people. You don't ordinarily connect or immediately connect the eradication of waste with people being number one in terms of actually, addressing lean concepts. You have a really clever, really innovative approach to recruiting people in. Take us through that approach, and also what you do. So you've alluded to the fact there you spend a lot of time developing your people first thing in the morning, every day. You're constantly challenging, developing your people. And whenever you go onto the website, you can clearly see there's a level of creativity and initiative being shown by your people. How have you cultivated that? So bring us back to how you recruit in the first instance, and then how you cultivate a culture of autonomy, of creativity, of high levels of initiative, which seeds lean.
So the first question is how I recruit. Okay. So, and then how I cultivate. Recruit and cultivate. But I'm going to go one step back even further, because I think the listeners need to hear this. When I'm in Colombia and I'm riding down the street and a guy comes up, old, young, and tries to wash my windows on my car, because that's what he's destitute to do for the rest of his life, earn 25 cents to wash the windows on my car. I look at that individual, that young man, that middle-aged man, whatever they are, because they're all different ages, and I think to myself, he is no different than me. I can travel around the world to 106 countries, and there is no difference between that guy washing my car and me. The only difference is someone, by the grace of God, developed me and educated me, and that human being has not been educated. And my heart goes out to him, because I just think to myself how lucky I am that I was born in a country that valued education, that I have parents that valued education and developed me so I could not wash windows, because there is no difference in the brain power and anything for that guy washing my windows and me. That's number one. And it's very important that you view life that way. And that's maybe why I'm so passionate and excited about this, because I see the same success that I've had in life in every human being I meet. I don't see any difference. I don't think of myself as special. I think of myself as very average.
Right? Well, I challenge that, but whenever
I trust you. I'm inside my head. I know how average I am. There's nothing special about me.
Just on that, then, before we move to 2 and 3, do you have a daily ritual of gratitude, because you come across as somebody who's incredibly grateful for the fact that you have been educated and for the fact that you get to travel the world now and evangelize
Yeah,
people.
yeah, I do have a daily ritual. It's so simple, it's unbelievable. It's every human being I come in contact with, the person cleaning my room to the person checking me out in the grocery store, to treat them with respect and dignity, and to think that's a human being. Be kind to them, be appreciative to them, thank them, warmly thank them. Don't do it. Hey, yeah, thanks. Hey, I really appreciate what you just did for me. Don't feel like anybody ever owes you anything. That's my attitude and disposition in life. Always, how can I take that person and the influence and power that I've been granted in life and lift them up? What can I do to elevate them and make them feel different today? Yeah. That's my ritual. Very simple.
That's a beautiful takeaway.
You want me to answer the question now? How I hire?
So recruiting people.
I'm thinking about that. Okay, so it's really simple. So we don't accept resumes; they're all lies. So don't send me your resume. I'm not interested. Send me a 60-second video holding your phone horizontally. Do not send me a vertical video. I'm very specific. I'll reject it immediately and send it back. Shoot it horizontally. Think about how you work with your computer screen. Think about how you watch a movie theater. You don't walk into a movie theater and the screen's up like this. We watch movies horizontally, not vertically. Send me a 60-second video. Tell me about yourself. So this is what it sounds like. Hey, my name's Paul Akers. I was born in San Diego. I had great parents, come from a middle-class family. I went to Kearney High School. First job was working for Bob Taylor, building guitars. And then I decided, finally got my head screwed on straight, went back to college at 20, struggled all through college, started my own cabinet making business. And then at 37, I invented a product called the Fast Cap, and I started this business. And it was really tough in the beginning. Now we're all over the world. I love working with people. I love creating new projects. I love innovations. I love exploring. And that's who I am. Yep. 60 seconds. Just tell me a little bit about yourself. Just enough for me to get a feel of who you are. Yeah. Send me that video on WhatsApp, Signal, Voxer, text message. Don't send me a freaking email. I don't want to see an email. And it's all a test. It's all a test to see if you can listen and do something very basic.
Very good.
And more importantly, it's a test to see whether or not you're willing to try something new, because nobody asked for this, right? Yeah. This is something, nobody asked for that. Richard Branson is not telling people, send me a video resume and send it directly to my cell phone so I can figure whether I want to hire you. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's a test, and we do everything differently. They send us that weeds out at least 50, 60% of the people, because most people are not willing to do that. And then I know immediately they're an innovator. They're willing to try something new. They're teachable. And then if I like them, we bring them in for an interview. If we like them then we offer them a test day. We pay them for the day. They work with all of our people. At the end of the day, we bring all of our people in, not the candidate. We bring all the people in. Did you like this person? Do you want to work with them? And if we don't get 100% from the 8 or 9 people that work with them, we won't offer them any more than that. If 100% of our people say, yes, this person's a hard worker, they're asking good questions, they're curious, we offer them a test week. We still have not hired them. They work for a week. They're with all of our people. We're putting them from station to station, area to area. We bring all the people in. And we say, should we hire this person? Well, they're always looking at their phone, or they're doing this. They really didn't ask good questions. Thanks, Bob. It was great. It's not a good fit for you. We don't hire them, or we hire them. And it's a bulletproof system. It's virtually bulletproof. And it works for us, and that's what we do. It's very unorthodox.
I love that, and we have tried tryouts in the past in our own company very successfully, but practically it doesn't often work, because if the person doesn't have that week to give, if they're in a current job and they're looking to move, then obviously that poses certain challenges for them. But I'm a big fan of tryouts where where it practically works. So they're in the company. What's the culture like? How do you cultivate, or how have you cultivated this culture? And as I say, you get such a sense of it when you go on and see your videos, and you've the guys there, putting up their little vlogs, showing how they've improved something today. I mean, they're not coming into what we perceive as a traditional manufacturing environment, going through the motions. The 9-to-5 mundanity of a manufacturing environment. This is a highly creative, really fun culture where you referred to something earlier about the biggest waste is actually the lack of use of a person's potential, the waste of a
absolutely.
person's
It's
potential.
the biggest one. It's
And
the
you're
eighth waste. It's the
optimizing it.
biggest one.
Yeah, you're optimizing it.
And we're focused on it 100%.
So what are you doing?
It's our target. It's
What are
the
you
goal of
doing?
the company, to grow people. If you were to say, what's the purpose of Basca? It's not this big, long thing. We are going to change the world and make it a better place. No. Grow people. End of subject.
And
nothing more. Grow people.
And if you could give the listeners, Paul, 3 takeaways, and we'll come to the takeaways at the end, but sorry, 3 practical pieces of advice in terms of actually growing your people, what would those 3 pieces of advice be?
Well, the first one is you got to love people. If as a leader you think you're the smartest guy out there and everybody else is a minion, then you're wasting your time. So the first piece of advice is you better love people. You better have appreciation for humanity and what God has imbued into every individual in the world. And if you're not approaching it from that standpoint, we're wasting our time. There's
Right.
no need to even go on. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2. If you want to do this, again, Brandon, one more time, say the question to me one more time.
Yeah, so I want the listeners to take away 3 pieces of advice in terms of actually developing their people. So
okay,
we've talked a lot around people.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought it was. I just want to make sure I didn't go off on some tangent here. So the first thing is you have to have your mind correctly orientated. The second thing is, just like I said earlier, you need to develop a system that supports deliberately your new belief system or your belief system, and that is our morning meeting.
Right.
I mean, so when people come into our company, they're transformed instantly because everybody is thinking this way in the company. And it's like people say, do you have an orientation? They're orientated from the second they walk through the door because everything's different. Everybody's friendly. Everybody uses your name. Everybody's interested in helping you. Nobody says, that's not my job. Go talk to somebody else. Everybody's like, wow, how can I help you? So it's an instantaneous orientation that is not normal.
Right.
And then that attitude is supported by our morning meeting where we spend the time developing and learning together as a team. So the first thing is get your mind screwed on where you're going and what you're really trying to do. Okay, I'm not trying to make more money. I'm not trying to build a company that's $500 million. I'm not trying to take over the world. I'm not trying to do it. I'm trying to grow people. So that's number 1. Then set a system up that supports that. And I don't know if there is a number 3 because that's all we do. We have our values straight, and then we grow our people, and the result is our people get more done in 8 hours, in 6 hours than the average person gets done in 48 hours. Excuse me, in 4 weeks, in a whole week. Excuse me, not 48, 40 hours. I mean, I'll take 6 hours of my people against 40 hours of anybody else, and they'll mop the floor with them. They don't even know what they're doing. I mean, everybody else spends all their time walking around like little chickens with their head cut off, and everything we're doing is flow, boom, 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 cool, fun. Look at that new innovation. It's just crazy.
There's a theme that is consistent with all of the successful CEOs of scale-ups that I interview. Number 1 is their focus on people. It's people first, and without prompting you, a lot of this podcast is focused on your people. Second is purpose, and inadvertently, you're saying by focusing on the reduction of waste, you become purposeful. And certainly, you're making your contribution to the planet by eradicating waste. And in turn, you're very profitable in terms of,
That's the byproduct.
Yes.
It's not the target. It's just simply a byproduct of thinking, of doing life correctly.
Yes. In terms of the application beyond manufacturing, there'll be people listening who aren't running leading manufacturing companies and say, well, lean doesn't really apply to me. I'm in the knowledge economy.
I hear it all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So convince those out there, Paul, who are saying, yeah, it's fine in the manufacturing environment, but it doesn't apply in the knowledge economy. Can you?
Oh, you're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
I'm not going to try to convince anybody of anything. If you're this big a moron that you don't get this and you need me to convince you, I'm not going to waste my time trying to convince anybody of anything. This is an obviosity from A to Z.
Yeah.
If you don't get this, you're a moron.
So are there any like any habit? So, you know, James Clear's
not the answer you thought you were going to give me, right? That would be a waste of my time to try to convince a moron of something this academic.
Yes, and that it's very obvious to you now. So in order to, as I say, I was referring to James Clear's book Atomic Habits. So you begin with those, it's, you know, the clues in the name atomic. Very small habits can lead to significant results. So give us, the listeners, you know, 2 or 3 little things. If they have never heard of lean before, they've listened to this for the first time, and they would like to start applying lean into their business tomorrow, what are the 3 things you know, that they should do tomorrow to begin practicing, to begin setting the seed, or to go down the
forget about tomorrow, right now, right this minute.
Okay.
When you finish listening to this podcast, look around at everything you're doing, because at the minute you finish this podcast, you're going to start some process, looking for your keys, making your lunch, answering an email, cleaning the bathroom, making the bed. I don't know what it is, but you're going to begin a process the second you get done listening to this podcast. I don't know what it is. Finding your hat. I don't know what it is. Look at that process and ask yourself, what bugs me?
Yeah.
What could be improved? Don't wait till tomorrow. Do it right now. And then simply pause, stop, and make a small micro improvement to the way it is. And then you do the next process. Say, how could I have done that better? Tweak it, try it, run an experiment. Oh, it didn't work. No harm, no foul. Who cares if you wasted a few minutes running the experiment? Who cares if you wasted a piece of paper running the experiment? Now you know what doesn't work. And the next time you're not going to waste 1,000 pieces of paper if you would not have run the experiment and wasted one piece. Run experiments nonstop. Fix what bugs you. That's all lean is. This is why it's so exciting. I'll give you a good example. Kite surfing yesterday. Okay, so I'm on my 5th day. And I'm, jetting across the water, and I'm watching my instructor teach me the technique on how to turn, initiate, and then come back. But I'm going 500 yards out, and so I'm way away from him. Think about this. I'm way away from him. He's yelling, bar, hit the bar, hit the bar. I can't hear a word he's saying, right? And I'm watching him right in front of me go a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. He pops in and out of the water. And I look at him, I go, Rodrigo, why the hell am I going 500 yards there and 500 yards there? And I can't hear you. Why don't I do exactly what you're doing right now, right in front of you? Why don't I see if I can go a little turn, go boom, and pop right back out, just right. And he looks at me like, that's a good idea. Like nobody's ever thought that way before. Because I'm putting together the string of waste of being 500 yards out, him not even be able to, I can't even hear him, let alone see him.
Yeah.
And he's trying to yell at me instructions. And I've got water and wind, and I've got this kite that's, and so I start doing it right in front of him. He goes, whoa, you're getting it. And he's like 10 feet from me, and I'm going from one leg to the other, popping it. And nobody sees this shot.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody ever instruct anyone kite surfing the way I did yesterday. Only because I can see waves.
And case that it's lost on people listening, the fact that you have been kite surfing for the last 2 weeks, traveling extensively for the last couple of months, is testimony itself to the lean processes, because your business, as you are now enjoying yourself, visiting countries that you haven't been, picking up activities that you haven't done before. This is what we say to leaders of businesses all of the time, who maybe are anathema to processes and systems. This will set you free. implementing
completely.
processes and systems set you free. Now, what you wish to do with that free time or the capacity that you've now created by implementing processes and systems is entirely up to you. You've chose to kind of expand the quality of your life, yeah, and which is wonderful in itself. Give us a sense then, Paul, of how lean has just permeated, as I say, every aspect of your life.
Well, nobody comes in contact with me for more than 5 minutes without saying that I'm a little bit different, that I'm not very tolerant of the nonsense that is all around. Like yesterday when I got out there, Rodrigo had the kite all set up and everything was done. And he goes, Paul, it's just the way you like it, right? Let's get in the water and start doing it. I go, exactly. That he knows the way I think. I mean, he's walking back and forth the car, getting the pump, getting this. I'm going, why are you walking back and forth 6 times? Get it all one time, walk out there, set it up, and let's get in the water. It doesn't need to take 25 minutes to set this thing up. It takes 5 minutes. And he sees the way I'm thinking.
Yes.
Yeah. So it permeates everything in my life, and everybody that comes in contact with me feels it immediately. And it's not that I'm uptight. I just can't tolerate the insanity that people are wasting their potential. Let me go back to one thing that I wanted to cue in on. Really what lean is, think about this concept too. This is another really powerful concept. From the time you pop out of the womb, you're given the breath of life. You take in that deep first breath of air. You're given a resource. The resource is air. Mm-hmm. The resource is life. All lean is doing is making you a good steward of every breath of air and everything that has been put into your responsibility. So I have the responsibility of a business, a company, of influence in the people, and I'm trying to be an extremely effective steward of the way I communicate right now, the way I'm communicating with you. Yeah. I'm trying to grab the listener, and grab them and go, do you understand what I'm talking about? I'm not saying, no, it's just being a good steward of the research. No. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah. And
trying to say?
It's incredibly profound, and clearly you're an exceptional leader in terms of the way you communicate and how you have purposefully devoted your life now to evangelizing about lean. I mean, you share this with everyone. I referred earlier in terms of your generosity. You've traveled the world, spoken within government in terms of actually seeding the message and getting the message out there around the impact of lean. In terms of leadership, what do you feel are the characteristics, let's say the 3 main characteristics of great leaders? And you've met many.
Well, I always refer back to Rick Warren, who wrote the most #1 best-selling book of all time, The Purpose-Driven Life. If you want to have a great life, a purpose-driven life, you only need to do one thing. And he tells the secret. Here he's got a book that sold millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of copies. And he gives the answer on the first page, in the first paragraph, in the first sentence. You ready for this? It's not about you. Yeah. That's the #1 characteristic. I mean, if you want to know the problems of the world, it's egomaniac leaders. They think it's about them. Their aggrandizement. It has nothing to do with you. The reason I have a rich life is because I've made my life about helping other people, realizing that is the essence of life. There's no greater feeling in the world. I can have all the millions in the bank. It doesn't make me feel like anything. But knowing that there are thousands of people around the world that have elevated their life, their family, and the people they're responsible for because of my passion to help them. I mean, that's the only thing that matters. It's not about me. It's about what I can contribute to the world. And it's just very simple. So, I mean, I could give you a 2 and 3, but why?
Yeah.
It's just one. It's just one.
It's consistent with a great little book by a guy called Bob Berg called The Go-Giver. Mm-hmm. And the essence, the thesis of that book is that ultimately the more you give out, the more you get back in. I know it may be overly philosophical, but as I say,
Yeah.
you're living proof
It's basic. It's basic.
that this works.
It's all academic. That's why when you say, do I have to convince somebody? I'm not going to convince anybody of this. If you don't get this, if you're not listening and you get this and you're throwing up all these rabbits, this, that, next.
So tell me, you are clearly enjoying life. You are looking younger than when we spoke on
good.
video.
That's the idea behind lean health. It's turning back the clock. I mean, there's no reason. Everyone, you can reverse aging very simply.
And this is applying the lean philosophy to your life, prioritizing your health and well-being as number one. And yeah, you've a great book. You referenced it there, Lean Health. I mean, you've applied lean to so many things. Lean travel. It's wonderful. What's next for you, Paul?
Well, you know, my target has always been to change the world, and I have a specific way I want to do that. Somewhere in my journeys and my travel, I'm going to come across somebody who is in contact with the head of a country. And I want to work directly with the head of a country on teaching the concept of continuous improvement to an entire nation. And by doing that, we would set an example of a small country, big country, whatever it ends up being, that this is, if other governments could see what happens when you focus on developing your people, that it could solve the massive problems that we're trying to solve and never come up with any viable solution for. So that's my ultimate target. And I'm sure sooner or later that opportunity will develop.
Well, I've no doubt in making that connection between lean and social impact leading to purposeful companies. I think you will be connecting at government level undoubtedly very, very, very soon. It's wonderful. You've lived well, I would say, you know, you're only you're going through midlife now. Let's say you've lived a lot of life. You've traveled extensively.
10 lives in one life, really, to be honest.
So look, a huge amount of experience, huge amount of life experience. What 3 timeless takeaways would you leave the listeners today who are aspiring to both scale their companies and, in many respects, scale their personal lives?
Well, I would say have some very good mentors in your life, some very solid people that you can reflect with on a regular basis and ask some probing questions, and people that are doing life correctly and that are making a significant contribution that you can always use as your benchmark. You know, I'll give you, let me give people a great example of that right now. That's just so profound. It's almost hard to even wrap your head around it. Bob Taylor is a very close friend of mine. Bob Taylor, Taylor Guitars. He did not go to college. He started, this little guitar making company. I worked for him in the very beginning years. Today, they're the global leader. They make 800 guitars a year. 800 a year, 800 a day, 800 a day. I talk to Bob regularly, and Bob is he's a profound mentor in my life, right? And you just talk to him and go, how can anybody be this smart and this capable? Everything he does is just like, wow, it's just unbelievable. And this is how unbelievable he is. So Kurt Listick and him, they're the 2 partners who started the company. They gave this company away to their employees just recently. Now we're talking about a company, I don't even have any clue how much it's worth. It's got to be worth $500 million. I mean, it's like an outrageous company. And he has 1,000
Taylor Guitars.
Yeah, Taylor Guitar. And this is not public. I mean, I'm kind of telling you something that's not really even public that much. 1,000 employees, he gave the entire company to his employees. And Kurt and him basically walked away. Now they're still involved in the management of the company, but that's the kind of thinking. That's the kind of level of people. Who does something like that, right? You see what I'm getting at here? And so you got to be surrounded by some pretty, and when I say good thinkers, I mean, I'm talking about profound thinkers. I'm talking about people that are not thinking like everybody else. As you mentioned in one of your questions, A Contrarian's Guide to Leadership, Stephen Sample, one of my favorite books. This is contrarian thinking. I mean, everything I do is contrarian thinking. That book influenced me dramatically. That's why I do a video resume. I don't accept everything's contrary. We don't have we do tens of millions of dollars in businesses all over the world. We're in 40 countries. We don't have a marketing department. We don't have a sales department. We don't have an HR department. We don't have a financial department. We have 6 people in our office managing a very complex business with 800 products around the world. 6 people. People would have 50 people managing what's going on in our company. We are contrarians. We reject summarily the way companies are traditionally run and the way they do business.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of the way you structure the organization, I mean, you clearly are living lean within, not only on the factory floor, but the way you actually structure the business as well. I find that phenomenal that you do not have this, what we would consider kind of traditional hierarchy in terms of actually.
No, it's crazy. It's not just because I reject it because I want to be an asshole or I want to be, different. I'm rejecting it because I see the waste. Yeah. I mean, our CFO works 4 days a month. He comes in, he analyzes everything. I have a half-hour meeting with him, and it's over with. And we're talking about tens of millions of dollars. I mean, every company would have a whole financial freaking department to manage this stuff. 4 days a month.
What's his name?
David Bees.
David is going to be the envy of thousands of CFOs listening to this.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, we don't need all that bureaucracy and all those layers and all that crap. Not because we just don't need, because we see the waste.
Yeah.
People just pushing paper for the sake of pushing paper. Yeah. And what that does is it adds cost to our products. Then we can't pay our people as much. And then we have to raise our prices all the time. And it just gets exponential. But by having this different thinking, so our people are paid really high. Our costs of wages, our products are very inexpensive and very affordable. We have more resources to innovate and give more creativity to save more time and money and energy for our customers.
So in terms of the 3 timeless takeaways, number 1 is find these profound mentors.
Yeah. You need good mentors in your life. And that's what my goal is. I try to be mentor as many people as possible. People contact me nonstop. A guy from Israel yesterday, a guy from Serbia the other day. People are always contacting me, asking me, Paul, what do I do in this situation? So I try to be a mentor to as many people as possible. And virtually I'm a mentor to hundreds, if not thousands of people, but directly a lot of people all over the world. And that's why people can contact me easily and ask me a question. And I'll answer it.
Yeah, and I want to acknowledge you for that. I really appreciate it, Paul. It's the exception rather than the norm. So I want to acknowledge that. Having great mentors. Give me 2 and 3.
The next one's going to be very obvious to you. Is I'm a fanatic about learning and reading. And if you don't do that, leaders are readers. It's just like I'm nonstop reading all the time.
If I could only read one book on your book shelf, what would it be?
Well, I'll tell you, I approach that with a little bit of reticence because one book is difficult, but I'll tell you the book that made that was the turning point for me in my life. It was Good to Great, Jim Collins, one of the best business books ever written. Right. And I read it 6 times because every page, every sentence there's no fluff. You read books, they say the same thing over and over again. You're like, enough, I want to get to the end of this book. There's not a page in that book that is not like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. But other great books I've read, Henry Ford's book Today and Tomorrow. Henry Ford was like so over the top. It was unbelievable. That book's available. I recorded. I spent tens of thousands of dollars. It's on my app for free. Literally, we got a Henry Ford type guy to read it, and you can listen. And Henry Ford had no intention of his book being an audio format, but it was so powerful for me. I spent the money and recorded it so the rest of the world could hear Henry Ford read the book. So Today and Tomorrow, Henry Ford's unbelievable. The Titan about John D. Rockefeller. I could go on and on and on. There's so many fabulous. The Steve Jobs book, the story of Steve Jobs autobiography. It's just like crazy good. The Elon Musk book is crazy good. And I could go on and on and on, but there you go. Good to Great, number 1.
Yeah. And hopefully our own book will be up there whenever it comes out at the end of this year. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
so
Exactly.
having great mentors, learning, having a
Learning.
huge curiosity to learn and to
Yeah.
read, and the third one.
Well, I'm always challenging myself to be uncomfortable. I'm very comfortable with being uncomfortable. I mean, being 61 years old and getting my ass kicked every day on this kiteboard I'm literally being dragged across the water at 30 miles an hour with salt water being injected up your nostrils is not comfortable, right? I've got a scar on my ass right now. I won't show it to you, but here, I can show you the one on my knee from dragging across the coral. I'm comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm always challenging myself. I'm learning Spanish right now. I'm 61 years old and I'm learning another language. So always pushing myself and not saying, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I love those, and I signposted you to the Wim Hof method breathing before, and part of the actual Wim Hof method is actually the cold therapy, and it's getting yourself in ice. I do it every day, and it's just that getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that helps build a level of resilience, which is paramount to being a successful scale-up leader. So I love those three. So great mentors, learning and reading, and get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Paul, you've been an absolute star, as you ever are. Where can people reach you? You're all over social media, but where would you signpost people to if they've 30 minutes to have a look at your work? Where would you signpost them to?
Well, I have a website, paulakers.net. All the resources are very well laid out there. Everything's free. There's no real cost to anything. I would tell everybody more than anything else, I've spent a fortune on this, but my app, 2-second lean play, you should get the app. It's very effective. I've got a live chat on there. So this is another contrarian's guide to leadership. So you can listen to me read the book and you can say, what about this? Stop reading, push the chat button, ask me a question, and an audio message comes to me and I'll answer the question. What author in the world has ever done that, right? No, send me an email right on the app. You can message me and I'll answer it.
Brilliant. Paul, thank you so much. I wish you all the very best with the kite surfing, with the continuance of your travels, and continued great success with the business. It's wonderful. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I love what you're doing as well.